So next, we're going to construct another financial indicator called dividend yield. So we're going to use this so-called trailing dividend yield. So we're going to have the dividends paid in the prior 4 quarters or the prior year divided by the current price of the stock. So first we need to calculate the dividends paid in the prior 4 quarters, and realize the dividend paid is basically one of the data fields in this quarterly cash flow table, right? So there's a data field called dividend paid. So that's quarterly dividends. What we need is we need to add the dividends paid in the prior 4 quarters relative to the current quarter. So to do that, again, we're going to first, under this quarterly cash flow table, we're going to introduce a new column. So I just paste my DAX code here. So we're introducing a new column called year quarter. So that's pretty much the same as we did before in the quarterly income table. All right, the code is exactly the same. So we're basically using the current date in the cash flow statement to construct another column which contains the year and quarter associated with this particular date. So next, after constructing this year quarter column, we're going to introduce another column. So again, I'll just paste my code here, and this is called DPS last year. That's DPS last year stands for dividends per share last year. Okay, this is actually very similar as another column we constructed before under the quarterly income table. In there we have earnings per share last year, EPS last year. Okay, so here we have dividends per share last year, and the structure of this code is pretty much similar. Okay, so here we have again, to construct this dividends per share last year, we have several steps to do this. The first step, we're going to again use the window function, which is kind of familiar, I guess, by now to you guys. So the window function will first use the match argument to make sure this data table we're working on, the quarterly cash flow table, is identified by the combination of stock symbol and the year quarter. So basically each row in the quarterly cash flow statement is related to a particular stock symbol on a particular year quarter. Okay, so the match by statement basically confirms that fact. Then the partition by is gonna group the quarterly cash flow table into several different partitions. Each partition is based on the stock symbol. So all the rows related to a particular stock symbol is going to be grouped together as one partition. So if a stock symbol has several different quarters reported in that table, then all those quarters related to this stock symbol is going to be grouped as one partition. Then within one partition, we're going to order all the rows within that partition according to their dates in ascending order. All right. So for each partition, we're going to have all the dates related to this stock symbol ordered in ascending order. So we'll have the first row at the top corresponds to the very first day of this symbol, and the last row corresponds to the very last quarter of this stock symbol. Okay, and then we get to the second group. Again, the first date associated with this second stock is going to be reported first, and the date is going to be ordered ascendingly until the last observation within that group, which corresponds to the last quarter of the stock reported in that data table. Okay, so this is the structure of this window function. Based on the order by, the partition by, and match by, basically we kind of sort this quarterly cash flow data table into a format where we have different groups follow each other, and within each group we have the dates ordered in ascending order. The first four arguments basically tells which rows we try to retrieve from the quarterly cash flow table. Okay, and here the current row context is very important. For example, if Power BI is currently process Apple stock for the first quarter of 2023, so the current row context basically tells Apple is going to be the current stock, and the first quarter of 2023 is the current quarter related to the current row. Okay, so this argument -4 REL -1 REL basically says we want to retrieve a block of 4 rows, okay, starting from 4 rows before the current row and ends at 1 row before the current row. Okay, the current row again is Apple in March 2023 or the first quarter of 2023. Okay, so I'm going to retrieve Apple's quarterly cash flow 4 quarters prior. Basically, that's gonna be March 2022. Okay, all the way to 1 quarter prior to the current quarter, which is gonna be the 4th quarter of 2022. Okay, so basically, this first step is gonna look at the current row context based on the current stock symbol and the current year quarter. The function is going to take the 4 quarters prior to the current quarter for the current stock. And then the second step is going to use the SUMX function to work on this 4 rows of data. Again, the 4 quarters prior to the current quarter. Okay, and the SUMX function is gonna scan these 4 rows one at a time. For each row, this function is gonna take the dividends paid for that particular quarter. Okay, so after scanning all the 4 rows, the function is gonna sum up all the 4 values of this dividends paid. So basically, this function is gonna sum up all the dividends paid in the prior 4 quarters relative to the current row. Okay. And the third step is going to calculate the total dividends paid in the prior 4 quarters by the common shares outstanding. This is retrieved, so the number of common stock shares outstanding is retrieved from the balance sheet. So we use this related function to utilize this connection between the balance sheet and the cash flow statement. Okay. Those fact tables are all connected through their dates. So again, based on the current row, we know what the current year quarter is or what the date is. Then we can just retrieve the corresponding row in the balance sheet regarding the common stock shares outstanding. So the dividends paid in the prior 4 quarters divided by the number of common stock shares outstanding is basically this concept called dividends per share. Okay. So we basically return this final value, dividend per share. Okay, so this basically concludes this definition of DPS last year.